Let me talk about Bill Clinton. You were a great fan. I remember he would refer to you as his favorite Arab American. And beyond that,
I resent that term. I'm an American of Arab heritage.
And you and he got along certainly a whole lot better in the White House press room.
I don't believe in hyphens.
Than George Bush, but there are some who say he hurt himself in being a former president, campaigning as he has, raising some issues that have made him somewhat suspect in the way he's aggressively attacked his opponents and attacked the press. Has it hurt him? Has it tarnished his legacy? Has it sort of put him in a different place and taken him off the pedestal of the former president to now be actively campaigning as he is?
Not forever. Anybody would understand how zealous you could become in wanting your wife to win an election or your husband. Mm-hmm. So I think it's forgivable, and I certainly don't think he's a racist.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. You've got the three candidates now in the mix. John McCain, it appears, is going to be the nominee, with Romney telling his delegates that they can go wherever they want, but urging them to support McCain. And Mike Huckabee's not going to, at this point, go anywhere. It's impossible. And we don't know how the Democratic contest ends up. But I want to take each one at a time and ask you to stack them up against their predecessors, their strong points and their weak points. You've done that to some extent. Let's start with John McCain. You haven't really talked about him at all. What are the good qualities of John McCain and what are the bad ones? And who does he remind you of in terms of the presidents you've covered to date?
He's caving on everything that he stood for, including torture. He was 5.5 years in a Hanoi prison, Hanoi Hilton. And now he's come out against a ban on torture. That was the only thing they would, and campaign finance reform. Those were the good things. But he's for this war to last 100 years. He's anti-abortion rights. He's anti-gun control. No, I'm sorry. I don't see him standing up for anything for human beings.
Does he remind you of any of the presidents you've covered to date?
No.
No? Well, let's take then, despite the fact that they are...
At least some candidates would take the side of God.
Yeah. Let me ask you then about the other two in terms of who they remind you of or who they have the ability to become, despite the fact that one is a woman, one's an African American, and therefore different than the whole series of white men who've been in the Oval Office. Let's do Hillary Clinton. What are her good points? What are her bad points? And who does she remind you of? Who could she become as a president?
I think she has a lot of personal strength. She certainly has fought for women's rights, for children's rights. It's a question, I mean, she has played the game politically, and I think that's hurt her. She did vote for the war, and I think that's an albatross for her. So, but I think that she's a very capable woman, and I think if she ever got the top job, she would really give great strength and thought to issues.
And Obama?
I think he has a learning. He has to be seasoned. He's only been in Congress 2 years.
Yeah.
And I really do think he's got a lot to learn. And I want him to be more substantive. There isn't any reason why he can't say flatly, we got to get out of Iraq. He hasn't said it. Keeps funding it. And everything else, either on health care, universal health care, he has not talked about single payer or anything else. He has a plan that doesn't cover everybody. Poverty, he hasn't talked about poverty.
Let's return to George Bush. There's a lot of unfinished business and a year to do them. And I want to ask you, if you could, issue by issue, what you think will happen. Congress just caved on FISA, the intelligence
I think
bill.
That's terrible.
Do you think we'll see anything more on those issues before
What more do you need? They're eavesdropping on everything now. They've got a total blanket, go ahead, green light to do anything.
Why do the Democrats do it? Why have they folded on that one and on torture as they
Ask Jay Rockefeller, who caved totally on giving immunity to telephone company, who were 6 telephone companies who were wiretapping 6 months before 9/11. 9/11 is always used as an excuse. It's not true. They came in with an agenda.
And they've been given immunity.
That they
Yeah.
they don't give a kid smoking marijuana
Yeah.
a break like that.
Well-
And this business that the companies won't cooperate if they get sued. I mean, people have a right to protect their privacy. That's one of the golden rules in this country under democracy.
Let's get those of you out there into the conversation. If you want to give us a call, it's 001-202-842-5056. If you're calling from here in the U.S., the number is 1-800-528-2090. Give us a call. We'll be on with Helen Thomas for this segment and the next, and we want to get your calls queued up to talk to Helen Thomas. Iraq. We're going to get a report from Petraeus in the beginning of March. The violence has subsided, but practically nothing has been solved. The situation is sort of seething under the surface. What do you think we'll see, and what can we expect to come before the end of the year?
I think we'll keep up that phony baloney about we're not killing as many people, therefore we're winning the war.
Yeah.
I think Bush would like to declare a victory before he leaves. But what is victory? To invade a country who did nothing to us and then start killing what the British say, 1 million people? Is that a victory? So people are going into hiding, trying to lay low until we get out.
Iran, do you think, I know that there was talk a year ago about an attack. That talk seems to have subsided. Do you expect anything more on that front before the end of the year?
I don't know. I think that they could be looking for a pretext. They would like to do it. But I think time is slipping by. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't do it. A lot of things can be done in 9 months.
And?
So I don't rule anything out. I think they have been stymied now.
Talk to me about the press and its coverage of this president. I remember stories coming out after Reagan left that, we go back to Kennedy, that there were things going on in the White House, people knew about them, but they didn't report them. And during Reagan, there were stories that came out afterwards that indicated that he really didn't have his wits about him all the time, but it was one of the secrets. People didn't always talk about the fact that he showed signs of not being able to focus and not keep on track, and maybe some of the early signs of the Alzheimer's that later on affected him so dangerously and took his life in the end. Are there stories about that we'll hear years from now about President Bush's relations with the press and how they managed or handled the press that didn't give us the accurate picture of who he was, how he operated with the press? Is there something there that we're not being told the story of?
Well, the insiders always have a better look at what's going on, of course. But I think we've found out a lot that's going on. I think there definitely was an agenda to go into Iraq. And its own cabinet people say so. So what's the big mystery? Reporters didn't go after the facts. The Downing Street memo, which said they're intent on invading Iraq, and the Brits did nothing about it, and we did nothing about it. And it was not even covered in the major...
Have they managed the press, though? Did they manhandle the press? Have they intimidated the press? I mean, did they...
Manage.
Are the press conferences open and free? I mean, can anybody ask a question, or is it handled differently?
The president has his little list, and he calls on the person to ask the question, which is very unusual. It used to be a free-for-all, pandemonium, except for the wire services would get the first 2 questions. I think the press obviously laid down on the job. The fear card was played on the press, just as Congress became very cowardly. Nobody wanted to rock the boat. Nobody wanted to challenge the administration.